Hi, this is Stan Yanitsky from Pure Storage, and I'm here today to talk to you about the VM Analytics product in Pure1. The goal of this product is to provide a visual representation of your VMware environment in order to allow you to drill down into problems and figure out where the issues are originating much faster than you've been able to in the past. But before we get into the actual product, let's take a look at how we collect the data. In the top left, you can see the collector configuration. All the collector is a Docker container that allows you to pull metrics from vCenter via API. So that means there's no plugins that you need to install in your environment. There are two ways to deploy it. One is on the array and the other is off array or on a VM in your environment. For the on-array collector, support will drive the whole process from installing Pure1 to installing the collector, and they'll help you get that set up. For the off-array collector, if you want to run it in your environment, you can set that up yourself. So in order to do that, you just create a new collector, you can give it a name. Once you do that, you can click this button to view the installation script. It's a simple one-line install that you can copy-paste into your VM, and it will download the collector from Pure1, it will verify the checksum, and it'll install it for you. You can, of course, do this yourself if you so wish. The instructions will be available on our support site. Once you've got that installed, because we're only making API calls, we just need a read-only user for your vCenter environment. You can use VMware's RBAC in order to restrict what that user can see in terms of data centers or clusters or even VMs. And if that user can't see it, then we won't be able to get that information, so that data will not be shown in Pure1. Okay, now let's get to the core of the product. Here you can see the topology, where we start at the disk, to the VM, go to the host, data store, to the volume, and to the array. So the very first thing you can do is you can click on any of these and it will highlight what's connected to each one of those nodes. So you can see exactly which volume this particular VM is on or what array it's on. You can also select it from the other direction in order to see which VMs are on this particular array. Another thing you can do is you can change the metric that shows up on the node. Right now we have write latency selected, but we can choose IOPS, bandwidth, CPU, or memory. Let's take a look at IOPS. What this will do is it'll allow you to sort on a different metric. So if we're looking at IOPS here, you can see that this VM is doing the most IOPS, or if we sort the other way, we can see VMs that are paused, as denoted by the dashes, or have done no IOPS in the last 24 hours, as you can see the time window here. You can see up to a week's worth of data. Let's go back to the latency, as that's our primary use case that we're trying to solve. If we sort back the other way and see this VM has a relatively high latency. So one thing we could do is we can click to highlight, and then we'll filter down to that particular VM. This will help get the rest of the VMs out of the way, and in order to help focus the screen on the particular issue that you're trying to solve. So the first thing you see here is that the array and the volume both have fairly low latency. So we know that the problem doesn't exist in the array. The data store and the host also both have low latency. So we know we don't need to do any troubleshooting at those levels. So at this point, what we want to do is start looking at the guest and above in terms of latency troubleshooting. There are a lot of other options that you can kind of see, and a lot more information that you can glean in terms of where that latency is originating. We won't be going over all of these different scenarios in this demo, but we will have material available to help you identify where that problem is originating. The next thing we want to do is we can hit the checkbox on any of these nodes in order to plot them in the graphs here. So you can see the 3 graphs along with CPU and memory. If you want to zoom in on a particular spike, like this over here, you can click and drag to zoom in, and you can see the time range has changed to this 2-hour period. Now that we've isolated this spike, what we can do is clear the filters that we applied, and now we're looking back at the whole environment at that same time window in order to see if anything else happened in the environment at that particular point in time. So what we did was we started wide, identified the VM that was the problem, figured out when exactly that problem happened, and then zoomed back out in order to look at the rest of the environment to hopefully understand the impact of that particular time period. There's a couple other things that I want to show as well. One is searching here. You can search or filter on any VM, host, data store, volume, array, or disk name. All you need to do is just type in what you're looking for, and it'll automatically start filtering everything in your environment. And finally, you can collapse the nodes in order to help identify some groupings. So if you collapse the column, it will group it by the column to the right. So I collapsed the VMs column, and now it's grouped it by all the VMs attached to the host. So this particular host has 26 VMs, and so on and so forth. In the top right here, you could also collapse all, which shows you the aggregated metrics for everything here. We can select any one of these nodes to select everything and expand, and now we've got everything selected as you see here. You can see at the bottom the average latency for everything that's selected is less than 1 millisecond. So this cluster is doing pretty well. If you choose a different metric, say total bandwidth, the aggregation changes to sum, and it shows you the total sum of the bandwidth of everything that's selected. So if we remove, for example, this array from the selection, you'll see that the numbers will change. This gives a pretty good overview of the VM Analytics product. This isn't necessarily everything that you can do in it, and so we recommend that you check it out, play around with it, because there's a lot of different tools and a lot of different ways you can use this product in order to help identify issues in your environment and hopefully solve them a lot faster than you've been able to in the past. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the product.